it was a political assassination, because when you think of people under the age of 35 on the conservative side who combined photogenic ability to speak to people without notes, to do a podcast, to have the administrative skill to create from scratch a huge organization, to be political savvy and to know which states to go in and how to approach the electorate to help the conservatives. And you put all that together, he is irreplaceable. He really is. I can't think of anybody who could do that. And that's what's really stunning. And the other thing very quickly is, there's two or three things. This was a political assassination, but it was also a journalistic. We don't really, in this country, do what they do in Europe, or maybe we've had Solomon Rushdie, a public intellectual. We had some, I think in 2019 there was a news organization where a guy went after them. But usually we don't see attacks on reporters or journalists or podcasters. And this is new, and this is, if this person turns out to be on the left, I have no idea, then it's not just a political act, but it's also trying to thwart the dissemination of knowledge. The other thing, very quickly, we saw that with the two Trump would-be assassins, that they were mentally ill and disturbed, yes. And we've seen that now with the creepy predator murder executioner of that beautiful girl we talked about from the Ukraine, and he was mentally ill. But the reaction to it is always, the reaction is like we saw from the mayor of Charlotte. Let's not demonize the homeless. Let's not blame anybody. Let's not do this. This guy was crazy. That I don't really care anymore. You know that? And you get all of this, and you get the impression that they are lowering the bar of what's acceptable. It's acceptable because if you really believe that Charlie Kirk is part of a Nazi movement, or he's a white privilege, white rage, white supremacy, or Donald Trump is, and you need to have videos about kickboxing him and punching him and hitting him with a bat. It all filters down, and there's people out there that interpret that as, well, we have a Hitler, we have a fascist. If I do something to him, what will be the reaction? I bet people will consider me a Luigi Mangione and have an opera about me? And Taylor Lorenz is going to give a puff piece interview about how charismatic, and Rolling Stone is going to put my picture on and maybe, I don't know, Photoshop it to make me look handsome like the Sarnoff mass killer. That's where we are.
Here's a Charlie Kirk ex-post recent, Victor, that he wrote, assassination culture is spreading on the left. 48% of liberals say it would be at least somewhat justified to murder Elon Musk. 55% said the same thing about Donald Trump. California activists are naming ballot measures after Luigi Mangione. The left is being whipped into a violent frenzy. Any setback, whether losing an election or losing a court case, justifies a maximally violent response. This is the natural outgrowth of left-wing protest culture, tolerating violence and mayhem for years on end. The cowardice of local prosecutors and school officials have turned the left into a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, that has. I've never seen a level of hatred. If I was Donald Trump, and I pray for his safety, I think they should triple down on his Secret Service, because most people would think, well, this is so horrific, we don't want to ever see this again. But the left-wing mind of certain people on the left is, well, if this guy did it, then I can do better than that. That's how it works. And we saw that with the second assassin. He was encouraged by the near miss of the first assassin.
Anyway. I just want, you mentioned it earlier at the outset here, the effectiveness of Charlie, and it's interesting. The other night I was with my niece, who's no conservative, and she brought it up, like, this guy and his videos, I don't agree with everything he says, but the fact that he has these conversations, it's really interesting. Like the fact that he engages in dialogue was a winning thing. And I don't know if you remember, a few months ago, the Democrats were talking about how do we get our Charlie Kirk, because is so effective.
He talks about things that most people don't talk about. For example, he says, we have a crisis in this country that we're not having children. We have a 1.6. I was talking to him about that just a few days ago. And he says, don't worry, we're trying to encourage that it's neat, it's cool to have children, to have a nuclear family. And we said, actually, conservative men are ahead of women. They are desperately looking for women that want to partner up and have a nuclear family, and that would bring a stabilizing return to the society at large. So I don't hear people usually talking about demography. And he talked about social cultural trends, norms, changes, that he was way ahead of his leftist counterparts. Yeah. And the idea that he really changed the dynamic of young people on campus not being afraid to come out and say they're conservative or they're traditionalist or they want to get married or they want to have kids. And that was just contrary to what they hear every day from fellow students and faculty.
I don't think
he's not going to be replaced, Jack. I don't think. I was thinking of that as soon as I heard the news. I said, something happens to Charlie Kirk. Is there any person under the age of 35 who has administrative skills to make a huge $100 million up organization? No. Is there anybody who can do that in addition to a daily podcast? No. Is there anybody who has enough energy to fly all over the United States? No. Is there anybody who's not worried about being injured or attacked or he's fearless? No. Is there anyone who can speak, extempore without notes like that? No. So he combined a lot. And then the other secret to his success was he was not a product of the university. He didn't go to college, graduate. Right. So he had a natural affinity for working people, and he was had street smarts, and it was a different approach, and it appealed to a far greater percentage of young people than other people did. I think that may be one of the reasons he was targeted. I really do.
Absolutely.
And when this happens like this, my blood boils when I have to then see all of this stuff. Let's not judge people. Let's not demonize the person had a mental problem. Charlie was, maybe he was too, I just have no tolerance for that anymore.
Yeah,
and
we shouldn't
same
be,
thing with Carlos Brown. As soon as the mayor started talking, the governor started talking, his mother said, well, why didn't they lock him up?
In this video, Victor Davis Hanson reflects on the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, framing it not only as a political act, but also as an attack on open dialogue and the free exchange of ideas. He emphasizes that Kirk's unique combination of communication skills, organizational vision, and cultural influence made him irreplaceable among young conservatives. His courage to challenge prevailing narratives, advocate for family values, and empower students to speak openly marked a profound shift in the political landscape. Hanson warns of a dangerous culture of dehumanization and violence, urging society to confront it honestly. Charlie Kirk's absence leaves a void that cannot be easily filled. May he rest in peace.